Welcome to the Mental Playbook podcast. I'm your host, and I'm here with Jeff Bristol, former NCAA wrestler, personal trainer, and owner of Fitness Quest 10. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Aaliyah, what's up? Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So, I want to know what drew you to sports growing up, and how did wrestling shape your mindset?
Yeah, totally. Well, thankfully, I know that, sometimes kids get into sports based on their just family situations and whatnot. And both of my parents were very active growing up themselves. My mom was a PE major in college, and my dad was an athlete himself. And so from a very young age, we started playing sports, playing soccer and baseball and eventually getting into wrestling, but started playing sports at a young age, and that was luckily because of my family situation, my parents get me involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was your biggest takeaway from, competing in sports in general and even at the college level?
Yeah, I think I didn't realize what I was getting from it when I was that age, right? When you're going and participating in sports when you're young, you're just going because you enjoy it, and kids love to be active, and you're having fun, and you're doing what your parents are taking you to do basically. Like my mom
Yeah.
would put us in the van on the weekends, and we'd be going around to soccer tournaments and whatnot. But now as an adult looking back and really understanding the value of sports for kids and just all the benefits that come from it, learning how to work hard and learning how to, deal with loss or, adversity or, working as a team, and just it goes on and on. And so I'm such a huge proponent of sports participation for kids because of my own experience,
Yeah.
what I see now as an adult.
Right. There's so much you can apply um, to life.
Big time. Yeah.
So, how did your athletic background and experience influence your approach to personal training?
Yeah, so I guess being a former athlete, exercise and working out was always part of my lifestyle growing up. So like as a high schooler, I wrestled and I played football, and I ended up focusing on wrestling, but being in the gym and exercising was such a big part of that sport. And so and into college as well. So it naturally, when I found fitness, which was a little bit later in life, like I didn't go right from college into fitness, but when I found fitness, when fitness came into my life as a potential career, it was such a natural fit because I loved being in the gym, and I loved training, and I loved the team kind of atmosphere that I get now with my team here at Fitness Quest 10. So all of those things kind of led me, the world or the universe kind of brought me back into fitness, as I kind of had a little detour in my 20s, which we could talk about. But yeah, when fitness came back into my life, it wasn't by plan or design, and it was such a natural, great fit for me when I found it.
Right. So, your journey has had some major highs and lows, especially with substance abuse. How did you develop the resilience to push through this challenge and other challenges as well?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Kind of like, just not really understanding the benefits of sports when you're a kid and you're in the sports. You're just doing it because, maybe your parents are pushing you to, or your friends are doing, or whatever. And now looking back on the benefits, I still, um, you know, didn't realize like how that my participation in sport would then also lead me to deal with real life challenges that came. And, I developed um, I started, the one thing that I did in school and in sports is go really hard. As a young high school and college athlete, I would always go really, really hard on the mat and in the weight room and everything like that. But at the same time, I also had that same kind of energy and output into other areas of my life that were not as beneficial. And one of those being like, the party scene kind of, and um for a long time as like a high level athlete, and I was a scholarship athlete to a Division I program, and I was able to function at a high level, even though I was not living a great lifestyle because I was going really hard at practice and training really hard, but at the same time I was going out really hard with friends, and I was always the person that pushed that to the farthest. And so I think it was something that was part of my personality and part of my energy and my makeup. And for a long time, I think like functioned at a high level, even though I had, this other part of my life where I would be going out late and drinking and doing drugs and doing other things. And I was able to function at a high level for a long time, not knowing that that's the tough part now is looking back and knowing that like my high school years and what could have or should have been if I was able to like have the like clarity or the understanding and the sobriety that I do now today, because I was doing really well, but I was also doing all these other things at the same time. And I was
Right.
able to do them both for a long time, but at some point it crossed over to a point where I was no longer in control, and it was a full-blown addiction. And it started in high school but got worse in college, and it eventually got so bad to the point that I ended up going to rehab my senior year in college. And that was not the first, fall I had. I had a DUI in high school. I had gotten kicked off the wrestling team because of these issues. And so even though I had a bunch of major red flags, I still, I think because of you know, the way I was performing on the field, or on the mat or in the classroom, and my ability to kind of negotiate my relationships, I was still able to go for a long time until it was just the world kind of came crashing in. And so um I really struggled with addiction going from the end of college through my 20s, especially as sports kind of came to an end, and I had already developed this major problem with drugs, and it really got the best of me for a long time. Yeah. And so, through my 20s, after wrestling kind of ended my senior year in college, I was in and out of rehab and in and out of jail, and really struggled with addiction to heroin and meth. And it it's kind of crazy to think how, like, I went to a school a lot like the school that you go to. I went to private school. I got a full ride scholarship and had great parents, and all these opportunities for education and sports growing up. So I really was, as in high school, had kind of like all the opportunity. But my personality and my lifestyle and my choices, like throughout high school and college, led me to that point where it went from, the drinking and smoking weed to then trying, you know, coke and pills. And then later on, it just got worse and worse. And I found myself, in rehab and addicted to the worst drugs out there. And it took me out for a long time. But I do know that some of the, some the lessons that I learned in my participation in sports, and the grit and the grind and the adversity, overcoming adversity that I had been through for in different ways, helped me as I navigated my way through that journey of addiction and into recovery. So,
All right. And when did that realization hit you that you needed to change?
well, that's the hard part about addiction. It's like, when I was young in high school and college, much of it was just, I was so young and naive and kind of um, not aware of the real problem that I was creating, that I was still thinking that I was completely in control. I'm just young. I'm just trying to have fun. And why are all these people trying to, come down on me and tell me that like I got a problem? Like, and I thought I had it all in control. And time again, I was proving myself wrong. And as things got worse, I knew I had a major problem in my early 20s, and I did really down to my inner core want to stop and didn't want to, because like what I was doing was majorly, disappointing and, really tearing my family apart. And
Hmm.
my parents were um, just just emotional zombies for a long time because they were like, here I was, their oldest kid that was a star student athlete and a great kid and a really great, nice kid in in a lot of ways, but was going through this major battle and I wanted to stop, but at that point, like it was beyond me just wanting to stop. And so it's a tricky question because you know, with addiction, people go, "Hey, what clicked, or what was the thing that made you turn around?" And I really cannot define that situation. I think for me, it was a combination because I hit major rock bottoms early in my 20s, like, going to jail or having overdoses, almost dying, these things that can really, scare you straight or whatever. But addicts don't get scared straight. It's a sad deal because, you know, even with those really, really scary things that were happening, I was so caught up in that lifestyle and in my addiction that I continued and would try to stop and really want to stop, really, deep down inside, really want to stop and tell all my family and loved ones that I really would, this was it and I'm done. And time and time again, I would, fall back down and fall back down. And so um, I think as I got older, my confidence and my self-worth and who I thought of what I thought of myself went down to a really low place. When you've like, stolen and lied and just put your parents and family through just hell, and you're like done all these things you're really ashamed about, and it just puts you in this really, really low place. And so as I got older and in my later 20s, I always knew I had a great family and a ton of potential and all this, opportunity that I kind of threw away because of my choices. And I started to get a little bit of traction, like where one thing was I met an amazing lady that's my wife now, and she was a big part of my turnaround. She was somebody who had no kind of a childhood like I had. She had kind of the exact opposite of type of childhood. And anyway, she came into my life when I was in my later 20s and wanted to help me get on track. And so her and I started hanging out and I moved to San Diego to try and get my life back on track. And that's when I found Fitness Quest 10. And that was I mean, between dating Sam, my wife, and then finding Fitness Quest 10. Those two things happened at the same time in my life, sort of. And I came down as kind of a crazy story because I moved to San Diego just to get away from my old lifestyle, my friends, and the stuff I was doing up in Temecula where I grew up. I moved to San Diego to try and get sober and get my life on track. And I went on Craigslist, which was a place to actually look for jobs like 10 years ago. So I went on Craigslist looking for like an entry level sales job. I hadn't really been working in at all in my 20s. And then I found a Craigslist ad for a director of first impressions at Fitness Quest 10. That's like one of our front desk positions and anyways, I had no idea about the gym or anything like that, but um, I came in and realized real quick that this wasn't just your normal average gym. Met Todd Durkin, the founder, uh, the amazing man. He's actually right out this window right now training some professional athletes as we speak. But he was the founder of this gym and an incredible motivator and a leader, and he had a huge impact on me. So like those kind of things, I met my now wife and I met Todd, who was the founder of Fitness Quest 10. I came to apply for a job at the front desk here and I got that job. And those two things were the first kind of, um, you know, little bit of hope that I had, or a little bit of light in my life that was like something positive after a lot of really, really terrible stuff that was going down. So,
Right, that was the start to your recovery.
yeah, yeah.
So, what lessons from wrestling and the sports that you played do you apply to your fitness coaching today?
Well, you know, with with anything like being, whether you're changing your lifestyle, you want to build muscle, lose body fat, just coming in for your overall health or your overall physical or mental health, it's not going to happen just overnight, right? Like it takes time. And one thing that everybody needs in life is a coach or a mentor. And like for me, like as a trainer, that was Todd early on, and I was super grateful, and will always be super grateful to have an amazing mentor like that came into my life, not by me seeking him out. Like just I applied to work at this gym honestly because it was right up the street from my house, and I was like, oh, I could work out at the gym for free while I continue to look for like a real job. Um, and so, um, yeah, so the coaches that I've had along the way in youth sports and in high school and college, like I have an incredible relationship with all of those people. And now Todd, who's kind of my one of my coaches at this period of my life, but my high school coaches, my my youth wrestling coaches, I know them today very to this day very well. My high school coaches, my college coaches, the having mentors and coaches like that throughout my life has really had an impact on the man I am today, I think. Because I've taken different lessons from each of them, and each of them had a different style of coaching, a different way. Some have been super, hardcore, high energy, real tough, like my high school coach, Arnold Alpert. And yeah, so those men throughout my life have had a huge impact on it, and it's helped me become a really great trainer. And also just my own personal experiences of going through life and having highs, and having some great success maybe in sports, but then also having some major lows, like struggling in ways that people look at this today, me today, and they see, oh, this guy's healthy and he has a kid and he's got a gym, and but they don't know that I was like dying, shooting up heroin and like super broken. And so that gives me a real different type of perspective on working with people that are everybody's got stuff, right? Everybody's battling something at some point. And so the fact that I have that kind of perspective and have been there, like it helps me really relate and connect to all different types of people, whether it's them themselves battling, going through, or it's a family member. And so that I think, between my sports experience and my own personal life experience, like combined together now as a trainer and a business owner, has given me a skill set that, you can't get just by going and taking your MBA or something like that. I mean, you get a lot of great skill sets from doing that, but you get a whole different, type of skill set by pushing yourself in the way that you have to push yourself and train and when you're a student athlete or an athlete, and then also just going through personal battles and going through those and coming through those will give you different skill sets that can really um, make you who you are.
Yeah. So you brought up your mentor and the importance of having support, like coaches. What's the best piece of advice Todd Durkin gave you?
Wow. Todd has a lot of great stuff, but I think that mindset, like his one of his main phrases is get your mind right. Get your mind right. And that's, just together it's just a couple words, but what does that mean, getting your mind right? Well, it's a lot of things. It's like, who you're hanging out with, what your daily actions are, if you're training, what you're how you talk to yourself, how you talk to others. And for me, that's been such, Todd has been known for being just this really high energy, motivational, positive, like motivation, positivity. Those are the things that really are part of his like brand and his who he is as a coach and a mentor. And that's really resonated with me. And I'm a real high energy guy, and I really resonate also with that, like that type of get up and go mindset, like let's go. Like, and so those things have, it came, like I mentioned how when I found Fitness Quest 10, I came in and I met Todd, that was like right what I needed at that moment. Well, that's what, that kind of positivity and motivation and building an environment and a team of like he was building a team here at Fitness Quest 10 of all these like-minded people that were on a mission to change lives. And, I was one of those lives that came in here, and I got my life got changed, got transformed by being in this facility and around Todd and my teammates. And so it immediately had an impact on me. And now I get to, live that and pay that forward, because that's my role now as a trainer, or as a teammate, or a business owner, is to like lift up my team, lift up the community, lift up the members. And um so yeah, lifting each other up. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
So how do you handle setbacks, whether in business, training, or just life?
Well, setbacks are going to come always, like big ones, small ones. Sometimes, like, it's completely out of our control. And, I think that, you build up, a little bit of grit or tenacity by dealing with them. And the way that you respond to these little setbacks is going to be a complete it's going to determine the direction that your day or your year or a relationship or anything can go. So I think that, knowing that, like, um coming from a place of gratitude, I think, always coming back to gratitude, as like kind of cliche that sounds, like, because little things can get me, now that I'm, you know, I get setbacks on a regular basis, whether it's business or financial or personal, or, maybe a challenging situation with an employee or something like that, and it's like, how you're gonna, instead of looking at, what they did wrong or what's wrong with your situation or whatever, it's, hey, like, what maybe could I have done, or what is right with the situation, because there often always is with all of our situations a lot of things that we can either be grateful for, or like a lesson that we've learned from something. So I think it's like, again, kind of goes back to that mindset that you take into things, because you can look at one setback in like two completely different ways. Even with like, like my biggest setback in my life was my detour or call it or whatever, even though it was a decade long or more, on addiction. And that, if I had to make a decision right now, whether to like never have gone through that or gone through that, it's hard for me to say that I would have say, hey, no, I would have rather that not happen. Obviously, the major things with that situation was like my parents, you know, physical and emotional toll that it took on my parents, and I would have definitely want to take that back. But the lessons I learned and the perspectives I've seen, and I've been on the other side of the track, so to speak, where I've been in jails where I was with people that had no type of upbringing that I had, or resources or families or anything like that, and kind of would never have gotten that lesson on perspective or gratitude unless I'd actually been to those situations. And so, um mindset, perspective, and gratitude, I guess.
Yeah, what advice do you give to those clients struggling with motivation and self-doubt, or just similar experiences that you have gone through?
Well, first of all, come to Fitness Quest 10. That would be my first piece of advice. No, but seriously, come to Fitness Quest 10 and we'll help you. But the people that you surround yourself with, whether if you're going, sometimes when you're going through something, the hardest thing to do is to reach out, or to, but like getting into a community of whatever it is, whether it's, like you're struggling with alcohol, go to AA. That's an amazing community of people that are struggling, and they're trying to lift each other up and support each other there. If you're spiritual, and, go to your church and get involved, and start, you know, um, giving back in some capacity. Like, that's one of the biggest things that can get you out of your own stuff, is by going and helping others that maybe you go and start helping somewhere, and then all of a sudden there's people that need you look at your perspective, your situation, you're like, man, there's other people that are there often is always people that got it way worse than what you're dealing with. And kind of just going back to finding a community. For me, like Fitness Quest 10's community is a big part of my life. And it's the same kind of thing as like AA or a church or whatever else kind of is my church in a lot of ways, where it's a group of people that like are, trying to lift each other up and go through life and deal with life's ups and downs together and stuff. So yeah, find a community.
Yeah. So what are some common misconceptions people have about personal training?
It's a good question. So common misconceptions. Um, well, I think that number one, first of all, like working with a personal trainer, like it's definitely great to have goals in this, if you got some goals to lose some body fat or build some muscle, but like trainers and coaches are there to help you establish a lifestyle. Like it kind of goes back to a lifestyle. It's not really about like, the exercise, the bench press or the squats, or it's really we're there as coaches helping people develop a lifestyle. And yes, some people might have more specific goals to perform in sports or to just be overall health and longevity as a working parent or whatever it is. And so I think that ultimately, like, we're more like lifestyle coaches than personal trainers that are helping you get a six pack. But then again, if that's your goal to get a six pack, that could definitely be part of it, right? But yeah, so I think that would be the biggest misconception. And when you're a personal trainer, it goes way beyond the weights, because I tell you what, like especially if you know are working with somebody, you build that relationship. For me, at least, it's been a major, like, you know, sometimes my clients, it's like it's almost a therapy session, right? Because they all got a lot of stuff going on, just like we all do. And when they come and they're working out, it's a great place just to have a friend or somebody that's in your corner supporting you, um, trying to stay fit and active and keeping your mind right.
All right. What's the most rewarding part of leading a fitness community?
Wow. Just the lives that we impact on a daily basis. I really truly, and I try and tell my team this on a regular basis, because every day I'm stopped by a client or a member, or I have a conversation with a teammate, or I talk to somebody in the community, and I hear through text, emails, conversations, just the impact that we're having on individuals and how we are making their life better. And it's to the point where, like, it's almost like when you've been sober for a long time, it's almost hard to remember as bad and how terrible things were at one point and what that felt like. It's almost like the same thing. I try to like not take these little things for granted, because I get them almost on a daily basis, where people are so, I'll get an email that just talks about, hey, like what your team and what the community has done to me and how I'm feeling. And then we're taking that, we're changing that life, that individual's life, and that mom or dad or whoever is going back and now at home being a completely, different parent, or, a spouse, or they're going to work and having a completely different, impact on their own little community, families and teams and communities and stuff. So I couldn't be, more, grateful to do what I do, and proud of the work that my team and I do here at Fitness Quest 10, for sure.
How do you balance your mental and physical health as, an entrepreneur, trainer, and just having a family too?
Yeah. Um, Well, I exercise a lot. That's one big part of my mental health. That's part of my mental health playbook. Um, but yeah, exercise is a big part of it, and a regular routine of that. And it wasn't always like that. Even when I got into the gym here working at Fitness Quest 10, it was like I'd been out of it for so long that it took time to kind of redevelop those habits and patterns. And I do a 5 a.m. workout every day, and it's hard, and it's hard to get up. That's the main part. And it's a hard workout, but I have a bunch of people that meet me here for that. So I have this whole system of accountability that like every day, even when my alarm goes off and I'm like so tired and don't want to get here, thinking of how I can get out of it, but there's no way I can. But I have people here waiting me, and so I come and I work out on a daily basis. That always sets my day differently. So helps me, just have good energy coming into my meetings and interactions throughout the day. I also joined another community just in the last couple of years that's been really incredible for me as an entrepreneur, and it's a community of entrepreneurs. Like if you're going through something, then you go join a community of those same type of people. That's like I refer back to AA, and that's because AA was a big part of my life and is for and it has been for a long time. Was I joined a entrepreneurs organization. It's a San Diego chapter. It's like 220 business owners, all different industries. And I met with a group of I meet with a group of people, and it's called a forum, and I meet with them once a month. And these are other business owners that I meet with, and I share my business and personal and family highlights, struggles, everything, and we support each other because we are all going through the same thing as, entrepreneurs, business owners. And so that's been a huge part of my life, just from like the, business and personal side.
Yeah, how do you help clients build long-term discipline instead of relying on those like small boosts of motivation?
Yeah, so we try and help people develop habits and lifestyle changes, and it's not going to happen just by coming to uh, classes for a couple weeks. So it's like we try and create an environment where people feel supported and encouraged and they enjoy coming to. Because if they do that, they're going to be more than willing to come back again. It's really hard just to be like, okay, um, hi John, nice to meet you. Here's a class membership, here's our class schedule, good luck. But if I connect with that person on a deep level, really get to meet, get to know his or her goals and whatnot, and then connect him or her to my team and community, from the first time they walk in the door, make them feel like they're, you know, we make them feel like it's, hey, the best part of their day. We want to greet them, make them feel really part of our community here, and then have a great workout where they're, feeling great energy and motivation from the coach, and connecting with other members and clients from our community so that they start to build on that habit and come back, maybe 2 days a week or 3 days a week, and then start, it's not going to happen overnight. We do have like a 6 week program. That's one of our ways to help people get started, because we know like, hey, if we got 6 weeks with somebody, we're going to help them build a good, really good fitness routine. We're going to help them build a really good nutrition routine. We're going to keep them really accountable to that, and make them feel really connected to our community. And then by then we hopefully have established some habits and patterns for long-term sustainable change and connection to our community.
Yeah, what's one mistake you see people make when trying to reach their fitness goals?
Nutrition is always a challenge. I'll tell you that. It's a challenge on all aspects. It's the hardest part for us as trainers to coach, because we can put people through great workouts all day long, but trying to coach people through behavior change and, everybody, it's a challenge thing, because, you work out at the gym here 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week, and then the other however many hours you're at home. And so nutrition's the biggest challenge, I think, when trying to achieve some goals when it comes to weight loss and energy and stuff like that. Um, Another mistake I would say is that like injuries are part of life. So nobody's always going to feel just great with shoulders, knees, whatever's going on, right? And one thing that I'll see sometimes, somebody has a shoulder issue or a knee or a back issue. They're like, oh man, I haven't been in the gym in 2 months because of my knee or my shoulder. I encourage people to maintain their workout routines no matter what, because say if I have a shoulder impingement going, I go, oh shoot, I got a shoulder issue going on, so I can't go to the gym, and I stop going. Well, your shoulder gets stiffer, gets more in pain, you get out of your workout routine. When you do go, even though maybe you do have a shoulder injury, there's so many things that you can do You can work your lower body, you can work your core, you can do the class and modify and not do anything where you're going to be doing the exercises that aggravate your shoulder. And at that same time, you can be proactive about that injury and maybe see a physical therapist or do something where I think injuries can often be the things that just go, oh, well, I can't go to the gym because of my knee. Well, great. How long is that going to be till the knee's going to get better? You're just not going to do anything until that happens. Like if you go and you have that mindset of like, I'm going no matter what, I'm going to do what I can until I navigate this knee issue, then you're not going to have these like, really ups and now I'm really getting on a tangent here, but it is. And I'll tell you, like I know how important my fitness routine is to me. And like I had a 2 year period kind of thing where like I tore my pec. I was like, oh, like that was discouraging. Like, oh, I couldn't do anything, couldn't lift my arm above my head, couldn't hold a plank, couldn't do any push-ups. But then I would start just, I came in here, kept my same Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. deal. I did my same workouts with my same group, except on their upper body days, I was like, whether it was like a one arm, it was bench press, I was literally doing one arm bench press because it was like my one pec was torn. And I just kept doing it. And you know, it kept me in my same routine. I still got a lot of really good workouts in, as my pecs healed, and then got back and slowly built up to doing push-ups again, and got back into my normal routine. And then next year I went out and got this great idea to wrestle in this veterans old man wrestling tournament, and I tore my hamstring. I was like,
Oh no.
so like happened like back-to-back years, pec, hamstring. But each year I didn't change not anything with my routine. And then with my hamstring, I had to modify and not do a lot of lower body stuff for a long time. And it's still not 100%, but I really didn't change anything. Now, those are things all the time that I hear like, oh man, I haven't been coming because, I got this, I got the shoulder thing. Like, well,
Yeah.
you know,
What's your mental playbook that keeps you going, especially through these injuries?
well, like I said, I think, having an understanding that, I think like your mental muscle gets built up where you've dealt with kind of some uncomfortable, like, yeah, exercise is challenging, but then the more you do it, you build off of it. If even if you got a little injury and you work out through that injury or figure out a way to work around it, you build that kind of momentum. And so I think just coming back to like that 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 grit, like grit is such something that's so, it's like kind of used a lot, but it's also like, what is grit? Okay, grit is like this ability to have been like in uncomfortable or painful or challenging or difficult or tiring or whatever situations, and being able to be like in your mind, like, okay, like, hey, how am I gonna, I can figure this out. It's gonna be okay. I can work around, figuring out a way to get it done, no matter what, or get out of something, and I think grit is something that's, the secret weapon and today, just for anybody, as you're trying to get through, you know, high school and college, or anything. You build a little bit of grit, and that's like a major muscle that you can flex.
Right, it's how you build mental resilience.
Yeah, big time.
I want to know what's the message behind you on the wall? Could you read that?
Absolutely. So this is our Fitness Quest 10 motto right here. And it says, we are dedicated, committed professionals. We are committed, dedicated professionals offering unwavering positive attitudes that use health and fitness to transform the body, mind, and spirits of our clients.
I really like that. Wow.
Yeah.
So what's next for you and Fitness Quest 10? Are there any exciting projects in the works?
Yes, there are. We got, well, so Fitness Quest 10 has been here in Scripps Ranch for 25 years, opened in 2000. We're just celebrated 25 years in January. And 6 months ago, we had a big leap where we opened a second location. And so that was a big decision, big leap of faith that we took, where we took over another facility that was shutting down on the north end of town here. And so that's the biggest project in the works right now, where we're kind of revitalizing and building that community. It's almost like kind of starting from kind of starting from scratch. It was an amazing little community that was shutting down, but we've gone over there, and our team and our coaches are teaching the classes and building up the community and adding our brand and our special, kind of culture and community to that gym. And so focusing on that a lot this year. I'm getting more involved just in my roles with the entrepreneur organization. That's been really helpful and transformative for me as a leader to surround myself with other leaders and kind of get inspired by other people to be able to take that to our community here and do great things in our community.
Yeah. If you could give one piece of advice to someone struggling to find their purpose, what would it be?
Wow. Yeah, purpose is it's a tough, like, it's almost like this mystical kind of like idea, like, hey, I'm gonna find my purpose. Like, and it's like, how do you do that? Like what motivates you? What do you love to do? Like, if anybody can find something that they love to do and make it part of their career or whatever, if you love being around people, and there's so many options, but it is a tough it's a tough idea, and it's tough for people, like, especially in those transformative years, like, 20 to 30 year after, like, high school, after college, and then you're like going in and trying to find your purpose. Like, what's that going to be? Um, find things that you love to do. Surround yourself in those types of communities. If you love horses, like, be in that community. And how can you use that to, like, either be part of your career or something that it's a big part of your life, so that it still feeds your drive or your inspiration. Get around other people that inspire you. Like, that's been a huge part of me. Like, at Fitness Quest 10, like, when I came here and I got around Todd, like, that was a huge, he was doing a lot of amazing things in the fitness industry, and coaching other business owners and fitness professionals across the country. And so I got to see that and be around it, and it was a huge influence on me finding my purpose.
My last question for you is what matters most to you, the destination, the journey, or the company?
Ooh, that's another deep one. Um, well, I say the company. I think, like, relationships, that's kind of like the ultimately who we are. And the impact that you have here in this world often has to do with the people that you spend your time with, or you leave you influence, or whatever. And I've been so lucky to have just been surrounded by so many amazing people. That's one thing I will always say. Like, I've had amazing coaches, amazing family, amazing teammates, and that has really been the biggest and best part of my life through the journey. And we're still searching for the destination. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for joining me. To my listeners, mind strong, game on.
thank you, Malia. You're awesome, and you're an inspiration. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get you in here for a workout. That's next after this. I'll text you. We're gonna figure out a
Okay,
time.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, Fitness Quest 10.